Hey, what's up everyone? So in today's video, what I'm going to talk about is the NBA. I'm going to talk about the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. So in this video, what I want to talk about is how, unfortunately, Steph Curry is still not viewed as a great player that he should be. People don't, for some reason, don't see him as an all-time great. You look at Undisputed today, Skip Bayless was making the argument that Steph Curry is not a top 20 player. He's a guy that was carried by Kevin Durant, and that's why the Golden State Warriors were a dynasty. And that is, in my opinion, absolutely unfair to Steph Curry's value and how good he has been, not only towards the league, but as an individual player. So what I'm going to do, especially since we look at how this tear has been going for him the last couple weeks, where he's just been lights out from downtown, making all kinds of threes, carrying the Warriors. And so in this video, I'm going to create a hypothetical scenario. I'm going to talk about how we might view Steph Curry's legacy if Kevin Durant had chosen not to go to the Warriors. Would the Warriors have still been a good team? How would Steph Curry be viewed, and how the league might look different in terms of not only how Steph Curry is viewed, but maybe how Kevin Durant and some other things might have developed down the road. So if you're interested in videos like these, please check out my channel. I talk about a wide variety of stuff. I talk about sports, NBA, NFL. I also talk about music. I also make music too, so if you're interested in things like that, please check out the channel. I have a wide variety of stuff you can tune into. But anyway, so let's get to this topic here. So for the Golden State Warriors, we all pretty much, unless you're a very casual basketball fan who doesn't really follow the NBA, you're all pretty much familiar with the 2016 NBA season. The Golden State Warriors had a historic year. They won 73 games, most all time. And if we remember back then, we were talking about this team as if they were better than the Chicago Bulls, and if Steph Curry was even on a trajectory to perhaps be the next Michael Jordan-esque figure in the NBA. It's hard to believe because this was 5 years ago, but there was actually conversations of this at the time. So but things changed significantly when the Warriors struggled in the playoffs. They had to come back from a 3-1 deficit to beat Kevin Durant's Oklahoma City Thunder. And then infamously, they went up 3-1 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, but LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, etc. led the Cavs back to a 7-game finals victory and upsetting the Golden State Warriors, and Cleveland took the title. So because of that, Draymond Green, other Warriors players supposedly convinced Kevin Durant to come join them, and he did. So this really kind of, unfortunately, I think ruined a lot of people's opinions of the Warriors. They at the time were a darling team that everybody enjoyed, but then they turned into the super team villain that everybody hated. And a lot of people that are especially LeBron James haters took to the side of, oh, well, this Warriors team was not that good anyway. They collapsed in the playoffs. They had to deal with multiple Cavs injuries even when their first title. Kevin Durant saved them. But that's simply just, in my opinion, not true. So I'm going to make the argument of what it would look like with Kevin Durant not signing with the Warriors. And this is going to take an optimistic approach towards Golden State, but it's to illustrate realistic things that could have happened. So let's take a look at that 2016 offseason. So where would Kevin Durant have gone if he had not gone to Golden State? And from reading articles from back then, from sports columnists, people who interviewed Kevin Durant, etc., the consensus opinion was that Kevin Durant was going to leave Oklahoma City anyway. He didn't like working. He wasn't really a big fan of how Billy Donovan was running the system in his first year and how he was utilizing him and Russell Westbrook together. So Kevin Durant was going to, according to a lot of people, leave anyway. So where would he have gone instead of Golden State? Actually, what they were saying is that Kevin Durant was really impressed with the Boston Celtics sales pitch, and it was apparently a difficult decision for him to not go to Boston, but he chose Golden State. So let's say in the 2016 offseason, Kevin Durant signs with the Boston Celtics. What would that team have looked like that following season? So they already had Isaiah Thomas. They already had Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier. That was their guard rotation. Jay Crowder was their starting small forward. Perhaps him and Kevin Durant might have spent some time guarding threes or fours, depending on the lineup. and then their center would have been Kelly Olynyk. So this offseason, they originally signed Al Horford. They would not have had the money to afford him if he was if he didn't. If Kevin Durant signs there, then Al Horford is not going to be going to the Celtics. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So, and I'm not going to pretend where Al Horford might have gone to, because Golden State, if they weren't going to retain Kevin Durant, what they were going to do is they were going to re-sign Harrison Barnes and Andrew Bogut, keep that core together of their lineup of Steph, Clay, Barnes, Green, Bogut, and then you bring in Livingston and Iguodala off the bench to complete their def lineup matchups. This is the original def lineups, not the new one with Kevin Durant. So how would these teams have looked the following season? So, and another big point that I want to bring up, and this is going to really create a sales pitch that I'm going to pitch in this video, that it might have been actually better for KD to sign with the Celtics, is because the Celtics were also getting Jaylen Brown in the 2016 draft. We had no idea how good he was going to be, but this Brooklyn trade is really going to reap huge benefits moving forward for the Celtics if they had this core. So the 2017 playoffs, we look at how this went, and basically the way that playoffs went is that Golden State ran through the West. They had 12 wins and 0 losses. Cleveland ran through the East. They had 12 wins and 1 loss. And then when they got to the finals, Golden State won 4-1. So it was a horrible playoffs, to be honest. But how would that have changed if Kevin Durant was on the Celtics? So honestly, I think because Golden State was so dominant anyway with the play of, they were already at a level that they were clearly above the rest of the West. I think that even if Kevin Durant wasn't there and they had Barnes and Bogut, they still would have been the best team in the West, and I think they still would have made it through the playoffs, because you remember Kawhi Leonard got hurt in the Western Conference Finals. Maybe that might not have happened if they didn't sign Zaza Pachulia, but still, let's go with the assumption that Golden State was still the best team in the West and should have been to the finals. Cleveland in the East, they might have had a more difficult time with a Boston team that included Kevin Durant in that lineup. But I still think that a team of LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, prime Kevin Love would have still advanced out of the Western Conference, or excuse me, the Eastern Conference, and have met the Golden State Warriors in the finals. I think Golden State still wins that series, mostly off revenge of that previous season. Golden State was not going to let that happen again. So you're looking at a situation where Golden State could have 2 titles in 3 years. Oh, and by the way, too, if Kevin Durant is on the Celtics and the Golden State Warriors still have the best record in the league, do we give the MVP to Russell Westbrook that season, or do we give it to Steph Curry? So you're looking at a potential 3-time consecutive MVP who now has 2 championships. Let's move on to the 2018 offseason. So now this offseason is the 2017 offseason. So you're looking at this offseason and big stuff for the Celtics. Remember, they're using Brooklyn's draft pick, so it doesn't have any impact. Their impact of having Kevin Durant versus Al Horford doesn't have any impact on their draft picks. They're still drafting Jason Tatum in this draft. And they also, in that offseason, if you remember, signed Gordon Hayward. And there's a realistic scenario where Gordon Hayward might have still signed with the Celtics, even though he might not have gotten as much money. But the Celtics did have money to give him a good contract. I think that Gordon Hayward, playing for his college coach, Brad Stevens, and having a lineup that consists of Kevin Durant, Jaylen Brown, Isaiah Thomas, and now Jason Tatum, it's hard to turn that down. So just looking at that right here, can you imagine that core of Boston moving forward even today? That would be absolutely insane. So Boston could roll with that lineup. You look at the Golden State Warriors now, that offseason, Bogut's contract expired. I think Bogut would have taken a little less money because his game was declining. You look at free agents they could have signed that offseason, guys that might have taken less money to go there. You're looking at guys like Zach Randolph, who took 2 years, $24 million with the Kings. Maybe he would have gone to Golden State. You're looking at J.J. Redick. He signed a 1-year, $23 million deal with the Sixers. Would he have taken less if he was going to be on a championship contending team? Maybe. Rudy Gay took a relatively cheap deal to go to the Spurs. Maybe he might have signed with the Warriors. They also, PJ Tucker was another guy who was a free agent that season. So these are all hypothetical guys that might have signed with the Warriors and had given them another piece that they can reinforce into that lineup. So now you go to the 2018 offseason, or excuse me, the 2018 playoffs. So you remember these playoffs, these were the ones where the Warriors in real life played the Houston Rockets. Rockets had Chris Paul, they got that previous offseason. But then he gets hurt. They don't have him for that last series, or the last two games of that series, and the Warriors end up winning in 7. Cleveland hobbles through a year of no Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love being injured, and LeBron carries them all the way to the finals, only to get swept by the Warriors. How would this look with this scenario I'm presenting here? So to be honest with you, I still think that Golden State is in a position where with their lineup that they have, including Barnes and Bogut instead of Durant, they're still one of the best teams in the West. They did not have a particularly difficult time advancing through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. And now they face off against a Rockets team that includes Chris Paul. It's possible that based on the way that season went, the Rockets might have beaten them, but if Chris Paul had still gotten hurt and if James Harden still choked, which is probably going to happen because it's James Harden, I'm just being honest, then maybe you're looking at another finals appearance for Golden State. Then in the Eastern Conference, you're looking at a Boston Celtics team that might have beaten the Cavs. You're looking at a Golden State-Boston finals, but could Golden State win that series? It would be a very difficult series for them, but there's a hypothetical scenario where they could, because you're looking at an inexperienced Boston's team, a poor point guard defender in Isaiah Thomas who's going to be signed to Steph Curry. So that's a problem. There might have been a scenario where Golden State still wins 3 titles in 4 years is what I'm getting at with this video. So how would this change Steph Curry's legacy? You're looking at a guy who potentially in this hypothetical scenario has 3 MVPs and 3 championships on a team that he clearly led. So that right there, especially in today's NBA, puts you into elite categories, especially with how good that team was over a short time. I think that, moving forward, they're probably going to continue to sign veterans, still be very good. Boston Celtics, you're moving forward with the core of KD, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. If you had that in today's NBA, they would be the best team in the league. I don't think there's really much of a discussion there. LeBron James, I think, still would have gone to the Lakers, maybe won a title there. It's hard to say really anything beyond 2018, at least for this video. But the point I'm getting at is that if this happened, this is a realistic scenario where we're viewing Steph Curry way differently than we do in today's NBA. So if you're interested in videos like these, please continue to check out my channel. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.